Hello, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's happening, everybody? Well, now I'd like to get my video podcast started, always with a moment of silence, followed by the serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers. So, if you would, a moment of silence, please. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Alrighty, well, let's get started. Well, how's it going, everybody? It's going kind of cool, I guess, right now. I mean, it's I'm stuck here at the place where I stay, which is the Crosspoint facility in San Antonio, Texas. It's a transitional housing facility for her. The particular floor that I'm at is for homeless veterans who are going through some homelessness, addiction, PTSDs, traumatic experiences, that sort of thing. And it helps veterans, get back up on their feet and get back into living a recovered life. So, yeah, and I wanted to talk to you, I guess, today about, you know, a documentary that I saw today. It was a documentary on the epidemic, of homelessness and drug addiction, and I you know, it was kind of one of the things that stuck out at me today. When I was watching that is how someone has to be um, part of being recovered is showing compassion and showing compassion not only to you know people in general, but showing compassion to yourself. I mean, not beating yourself up, because I know as addicts and when you're in situations like being homeless and stuff like that, you tend to beat yourself up a lot. You kind of go through this one phase. You kind of go through this phase of why me, and what did I do, and how did I wind up here, and just all these different feelings that you have pulling at you, at the same time. You're feeling depressed, you're feeling angry, you're feeling lonely, you're feeling, you know, anxious, you're feeling paranoid, you're feeling just all these different things, and you don't know how to control that feeling. And the only thing that helps is indulging in the addiction, because the addiction is a temporary mask for that pain that you're going through, for those feelings that you're going through. And we don't no one likes to go through pain, whether it's emotionally or physically, you know what I mean? So um, you really have to be compassionate about what you're doing in your recovery, because if you're not, then you could find yourself in a quick relapse, you know what I mean? And nobody wants to nobody wants to go through that type of stuff. And I know for myself, in my personal journey, I've been, you know, I've gone through just about everything you can go through as far as being addicted and homeless. I mean, you fall through into this pattern of destructiveness that you you don't even know how you got there. You know what I mean? It's almost like the time goes by, and next thing you know, you're waking up and you're just like, "What the f? I'm still here." Except you're just it's just in a worse situation, because that when you're in that world, you don't ever go back to that world in a better spot. It's always worse, and there's always more things that you bring along with you. You know what I mean? Whether it's now you're addicted to more than one drug, or now instead of being homeless with your car, now you don't have a car and you're homeless on the street. You know what I mean? Or now you have this whole legal issue with you that you have to deal with now, and you're now sort of living your life wondering, okay, you can't be cut by the cops because you're going to go to jail at any moment. And it is a terrible way to live. And the thing is that when, what, most people don't even know, a lot of people who are out there on the streets and homeless and addicted and all those types of things, a lot of them, they don't know that they're going through this whole process of addiction, and it's um, it's not until you're there in the trenches, and you wake up one day and you're like, oh my God, I've seen movies like this, I've seen documentaries like this, I've seen, stories in the news like this, and now I'm here. Now I'm part of that epidemic. And, you know, ever since I've been in that situation, I've never really ran into anybody who was out on the streets. Never were they really bad people. You know what I mean? Every now and then there was a couple of bad seeds, but for the most part, most people who are out there are just like you and just like me. You know what I mean? They're just normal. I mean, they look normal in a sense, and when you hear their stories, it's like everybody has these stories that are just like, you know, their eyes light up when they tell you their story of, I used to do this and I used to do that. I used to have this and I used to have that. I was with my family. I was, life was great. I could remember this. I could remember that. And when people are telling you their stories like that, you could see a little bit of just this happiness, because they've known happiness at one point in their lives, and they hold on to that. And when, that to me is part of the compassion, because you know how it feels to be loved, you know how it feels to be, wanted, you know how it feels to have fun in your life without alcohol, without drugs, without being homeless, without being, nervous, paranoid, angry, depressed, lonely, without any of that stuff. There was, at one point in your life, you had that feeling. And it was funny because earlier today, I was talking to one of my therapists that I go see, and you know, he was telling me, how's it going and this and that, and I mentioned, I said, I've been having this issue with thinking about things that happened to me when I was a kid, and I don't know how to deal with that. I knew how to deal with it. I used to know how to deal with it, because the only way that I would deal with those feelings was to use. And if I caught myself thinking that, or something reminded me of that, then I would automatically go to my go-to, and that was, using drugs. And and I wouldn't feel it, and I wouldn't think about it, and it was my escape. You know what I mean? And that's why I've been, I've been doing drugs and alcohol since I was in the first grade, man. You know what I mean? And that's when I found out that smoking marijuana and drinking beer could make me not feel the way I felt when I was a kid, and it was great, and I wanted more of it, and that's what I did, and but my point is here that he made me realize, kind of in the sense that, you know what you're telling me is that you've been involved in some sort of substance abuse, has been in your life for like 89% of your life. Now, you know, it, it's not going to be easy to, fix that. But he goes, he says, Joel, you know what? You're telling me also that you have like 7 months now, and I mean that is a good thing. That's a lot of time for somebody who used every single day of their life. You know what I mean? And so I was like, I thought about it, and I'm like, gosh, you're you know my whole life hasn't been always always using. I've had sense of sobriety in my life, you know what I mean? And the when I went to my second rehab, I when I got out of that, I was I stayed sober for 10 years after that. You know what I mean? And those 10 years were awesome. I mean, I was able to connect with my family. I especially my kids. You know what I mean? That to me was a time in my life that I felt the most connected to my kiddos, and now the present date. I think me and my girls, we've got a pretty good relationship, man. And I'm blessed, to have girls like that, because they're, you know, my daughters are everything to me, and you know to have them in my life, and to have them still need dad's advice or help in any way, you know what I mean? It's a great feeling, and I'm grateful to the man upstairs that I'm able to do that here today, and I'm able to do that and be sober and clear headed, and getting my life back recovered. You know what I mean? Because you know, there's been times when they were little. I mean, I was always doing drugs. I still maintained a household, still maintained money and work and everything, but you know, they didn't. Nobody knew I was using. I drank occasionally, and that sort of thing, and sometimes I would overdo it. And me and my ex-wife, we went through some things, but uh, she didn't know why I did it. She didn't know why I excessively would binge. She didn't know. She thought I was just doing it just to do it. No, nobody knew the behind the scenes, what was going on in my head and in my feelings and in my mind of why I did it. You know what I mean? There was reason behind me, drinking and doing the drugs. You know what I mean? And it kept me moving forward in my life. You know what I mean? It was kind of like I depended on it because I didn't know how to live without it. And but as I get older, and I'm learning new things, and going back to the documentary thing that I was watching. Um, there was a part in there where there's a firefighter, first responder type guy, and you know, he was saying, yeah, it's been a transformation that we would go out on these runs, and only the cops would have to deal with those things. Only the police would deal with the bad, situations of an overdose, of somebody dying, and now it's so that it's there's so many happening every single day on these runs that they're going through on the daily basis. They said they were going like 10, 20, overdose runs, and in one day, and that's like, and some of them were fatal, and for the first and then he mentioned that, he goes, it's terrible, and it changes your thinking and how we think about life, and society, and he goes, it's a lot to deal with. And then he mentions that he's looking at the interviewer, and then he tells the interviewer, and then there's drinking. He goes, and then you drink, he says. And it got me to thinking, it's like, man, how many people are being affected by, this epidemic of homelessness and drug addiction, that they have to see this on a daily basis. They have to go out and respond to overdoses, to drug busts, or whatever it is, that has to do with with drugs and addiction and homelessness, and they have to go and see these things on the daily basis. And for them, from somebody who has gone to school, and who's a suburban family or whatever, and now they're every day going to the rough parts of town and under these ghettos and just rural areas, and then finding people dead, finding people overdose, finding people with these drug labs and trap houses, and all of this type of stuff is mentally you know messing them up also, and they have no, then they drink. So how many alcoholics are we producing from these people who are trying to help? And not only that, but there's those are traumatic experiences that they're going through also. And how are they dealing with it? Now they're going to be, it could also lead to more people, now they're probably medicating and drinking more, and it's just this whole domino effect thing that I'm watching there on that documentary. I'm not just thinking like, wow, this is just it's an uncontrollable thing. Like it's like a freaking fire that's just, you can. It looks like you're putting it out for a minute, and then this gust of wind comes and whoo, fires it back up. And you know, they were talking about people doing the prescription drugs, and then now they can't get any more prescriptions, so they're got to go do heroin now, and then now there's fentanyl, and then there's these animal tranquilizers that are coming out, and into the drugs, and now they're putting all of this into other drugs, into the meth, into the cocaine, into lacing the marijuana, and just all of these different types of ways that you can get this fentanyl in these, because there's not only one fentanyl. That's the crazy thing. Is there's like, I don't know, I forgot how many they said the number of fentanyls there are, but fentanyl can be used for a human being. Fentanyl can be used for a freaking elephant. So you don't know if you're getting elephant fentanyl or you're getting a human being fentanyl. You know what I mean? So that's why it's just like one little dab of it can just kill you. By smoking it, by snorting it, by injecting it. Doesn't matter how you do it. And it's it got me to thinking. I said, man, going back to you're having to, as someone who's been there and done that, who's been in the drug world and has been in the addiction world, homeless world, and then who's also in the recovery world, you have to have compassion. You have to be open-minded. You have to be willing. You have to be compassionate. You have to be honest. And you have to have a spiritual awakening of some sort. You have to be done. And there's for me personally, those are the kind of things that I had to have in my life to change. I had this compassion to want to help people, to want to spread a message to say you're not alone. You're there's more to life than staying in that world of darkness, and it's it's hard to do when you feel like there's no help, when you feel like that's the end of the road, this is where I wind up, this is how my life is now. And man, there were so many nights that I thought that, and so many nights waking up in a bando, or freezing my ass off inside of a tent, or in a motel somewhere stuck. But when I look back at all those things, I there's one common denominator, and that was, no matter where I was and what I was doing, I still had the drug with me. That was something that always came with me, no matter what part of the freaking journey I was in. That for sure was there, and I made sure it was there. So what I'm doing in my recovery is trying to have that compassion, that that drive, and that energy that I had when I was using, because I would have to do it on a daily basis, and I didn't care what I needed to do to get it, I got it. And no matter who I needed to go through, who I needed to affect, I didn't give a shit about any of that stuff. You know what I mean? And that's the truth. Nobody, you know. I didn't care who I had to hurt, or who I had to burn or whatever. You know, if it, I would always say that everybody who's out there doing that, and who's addicted, they're all opportunists. You know what I mean? They're looking for that opportunity, and if there's an opportunity, they're gonna take it, and just to get their stuff, and I understand that, but uh, so I try to use that same type of energy to stay recovered. And if I was doing that on a daily basis to stay addicted, well, guess what? That's what I do. I do positive things to stay recovered on a daily basis. So, my day consists of, you know, waking up in the morning to a meditation, to an affirmation, to an exercise, to doing a video podcast, to reading literature that has to do with recovery and faith based, and you know, going to meetings, going to my peer support groups that I attend. I attend a couple of peer support groups that I go through, and then I attend I'll go see my two counselors that I go see, and I attend weekly NA and AA meetings, and then I do these podcast videos just to to share the message, and hope that share the things that have helped me along the way, that maybe that'll help somebody else along the way to be recovered. And it's a daily thing. It's a daily thing, and it's a repetitive thing, but I do it every single day. Sometimes I do more things than the next day, and sometimes I at least do one or two things for sure. And waking up and going to bed is one of the two things that I do for sure on the daily, and that's my meditation, and listening to someone's sermon or someone's podcast before I go to sleep, and then when I get up, and to start my day off on a positive note like that, and then and talking and saying my affirmations, so that I bring them into existence in my life, is key for me. And if I wake up every morning, and I'm telling myself that, hey, okay, today's going to be another good day. We did it yesterday. Let's do it again today. And I motivate myself in a sense, and I pump myself up that way, because I have to. Because the minute that I don't, the minute that I stop, the minute that I start getting complacent, the minute that I start getting boring, the minute that I start, just not caring, the minute that I stop showing compassion, is the minute that I go back into the addiction. And it's just that fast. And I know it is. I mean, hell, I just had a friend of mine who stays here, well, who was staying here with me in the same facility where I'm at, and he decided that he needed to go back. And I encouraged him to come with me to a meeting, and he did. And after that, he decided that he was going to go. And as an addict, you talk yourself into doing a lot of crazy shit, and there's not anything anybody can do about it. You know what I mean? But because an addict is only going to be ready for recovery when he's ready for recovery. But when you can talk and plant a seed on somebody, it helps. It helps to plant that seed somewhere. And that's why I do these videos, because I'm trying to plant a seed in somebody who's listening to me today. You know, it may not get you to full blown recovery right now, right this minute, but it gets your mind to start thinking, man, okay, I understand this guy. Maybe he knows what he's talking about. And when you can plant a seed in somebody's mind, and then elaborate on your story of how you did it and where you've been and how far you've came, people can relate to that. Addicts and homeless people and people who are going through post-traumatic stress syndrome, who anybody who has a neurological brain disease can relate to those types of things because they're listening to somebody who has gone through that, who has the same type of things that they're going through, who has that disease just like they do, and who's in recovery. Number one, you know what I mean? It's like if you want to, if you have to walk the walk to talk the talk, and right now I'm walking. You know what I mean? I'm walking tall. That's why I do these videos, because I want somebody to hear me. I want my message to relate to somebody so that they can come along over here to this positive world where I'm at. Because it's great to be in recovery. It's great to feel sober. It's great to feel, that your life's coming back. I mean, this time last year, I was in a motel somewhere, in addiction, stealing, doing whatever I had to do to get the drugs, selling drugs to get more drugs. You know what I mean? And it's I would never thought that I would be here that I would have a podcast doing a video about homelessness and drug addiction and recovery. I would never have thought that, but I'm here, and I'm only here because I believe that it was a divine intervention that happened for me. And I asked, I was ready, I was done, and I asked, and God got me out of that world where I was at because I asked. And I knew in my heart that, man, I was done. I was like, man, I please help me. Whatever you gotta do, God, just if you help me, please just help me get my life back. And I can remember going to going to jail the next day after I asked him. You know what I mean? I got to, it wasn't the way that I wanted it to happen, but it happened that way. And I'm here talking to you now, clean and sober today. From last year being, I'm sitting in a freaking motel room smoking a bowl, weighing 160 pounds, and just, eyes sunken in, black around my eyes, and just, I was just feeling like shit. And today, man, I've gotten my health back. I'm exercising again. I'm eating better. I'm doing things on the positive, and man, I'm up to 190 pounds now. You know what I mean? I got my weight back, my strength back, and it's just like awesome feeling. You know what I mean? I love the way I used to feel when I was in the gym, and and just feeling healthy is amazing. And then I used to love going to my church groups on Wednesdays, and then going to church on Sundays, and then going to my meetings, and then interacting with my recovery community, my faith-based community. It was freaking awesome. And now to have all that back is just like, man, you don't know how that feels, because it's just, I don't know, it's a whole lot better than being in a bando. It's a whole lot better than being in a freaking tent in the woods. It's a whole lot better than being in a motel stuck with a bunch of drug addicts. You know what I mean? And I can lay down today with my eyes closed and just sleep comfortable, and not, sleeping with one eye open and just, worried about my stash and my money and my belongings. And I can just sleep so comfortable, man. It is just amazing right now. And I want that to happen for other people. I don't want people to be suffering like I did like that, because it's not a good life. But I feel like if I talk to somebody about it, if I sit here and do these videos and it reaches somebody around the world in any community, and it helps them, then my due diligence in my service work is paying off. If I could just bring one person to recovery, I'm happy about that. And I'll keep doing it. I'll keep doing these videos on a daily basis like I've been doing. You know what I mean? I promised myself that I would do these videos on a daily basis and put one out every single day so that I can talk to somebody, so that maybe somebody can resonate with my story and come to the world of recovery and positivity. And I'm gonna keep that promise as long as I can. And I'm grateful. I really am. But I can't do it on my own, and I can only do it with the help of my recovery community, my faith-based community, and the people out there who are listening, which is you. And so, if you would please at this time subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, leave me a comment. You want me to talk about any topic, of those types of things, neurological brain diseases, freaking a drug addiction, homelessness. I mean, all of that kind of stuff. Leave me a message. Let me know what's up. And yeah, so I can't do it without y'all. So if you please, hit that like button. It don't cost you a thing. All you got to do is tap the button, and that's it. And you will definitely be helping somebody out. So I guess until the next time, on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.